What's up everybody, Swillow here, and today I'm going to be answering the question that you all want to know. Is Fairy Tail worth picking up? So I'm going to answer this through three different categories. The first is as a Fairy Tail game, as a fan service game. The second is as an RPG in general. And the third is as a Gust RPG, the developer who made this game. So first, as a Fairy Tail game, as a fan service game, I think this game's like super on point. The presentation of the characters is absolutely amazing. They're well modeled, well animated, like the combat animations are super cool. And the character interactions are super spot on, very in character and such. And I'll just give a brief history about my Fairy Tail experience. Like, I've watched the Fairy Tail anime till about episode 100, I would say, before I started losing interest. And apparently this game's plot picks up from around episode 120. So I haven't actually seen any of this game's plot, but I am familiar with the characters and the world. So I've been able to follow along pretty well since I already understand the characters and I understand like the powers and the lore, just how Fairy Tail works in general. And I really enjoyed the presentation here. The presentation's very in character. A lot of good interactions that you'll see through side quests and stuff like that. And the characters are just all around the selling point of this game. The world itself is not as vibrant as the characters, but the characters definitely make this game more than anything. So I think it's a great fan service game in that regard. Second, as an RPG in general. So as an RPG in general, I think this is a very by-the-books game. It's very fundamentally sound and simple. It doesn't try to do anything outrageously different from any other game. It's not trying to revolutionize, but everything it does do is pretty solid. Like, there's not really any outstanding flaws I would mention in its design. You know, like I said, it's just not like super ambitious in design in any way. So if you're looking for like the next crazy epic RPG, this is not necessarily going to be the game. However, this game is good enough to satisfy the RPG itch, and it's just a fun game in general, even though it's not like a grand scale, like life-changing experience. And then as a Gust game, I think this game is very spot on. Like, if you're a Gust RPG fan, this game's gonna feel right at home in design. You're gonna see it pretty much instantly. The only thing about this game compared to other Gust games is there's sort of a lack of really detailed customization or kind of convoluted mechanics like the alchemy system or the fusion system and the atelier games. So this game definitely feels a bit more straightforward compared to some other Gust games in that regard, and I guess that could be off-putting to certain people. But I don't think that this game is necessarily bad for not having anything crazy intricate like that, because the game is still very deep and rich. It just doesn't have anything that might be alienating to newcomers to Gust games. I think that's why they went with this approach, to not have anything crazy, because there's probably going to be a lot of people playing this game that haven't actually played a Gust RPG before. So they did make it more approachable and more digestible in that regard. But it still feels very much like a Gust game. It still gives you all those good Gust vibes. So I highly recommend it to Gust fans. And then the main thing I would say would turn you off from this game is if you're just not a fan of turn-based combat. That's really like the one thing. That and the fact that this isn't like a big epic like AAA RPG experience, but I think this game is just a ton of fun, honestly. Like, since I've gotten this game, I've just literally been playing it nonstop. I love it so much. And you know, like I already mentioned, like I kind of fell out of interest with Fairy Tail after a while, but playing this game actually like makes me want to go back and start watching it again, because the way the characters are presented is just like so good that it just kind of it really does what I feel like it should do as an anime fan service style game. And I definitely want to talk about one thing. I've been seeing a lot of people talk about how, oh, why wasn't this like an action game or a Musou game or a fighting game or whatever, and it's a turn-based RPG. So I think that's like definitely a topic I've seen brought up a handful of times, And I want to talk about this topic because for me, I feel like I'm actually really happy they decided to go RPG route. Like, I like arena fighters, I like Muso games, you know, you see me cover all this stuff on my channel, so I love all these genres, but I think that the RPG format actually works really, really well for anime games, especially like games like this that are based on shonen anime that have been running for a long time, because RPGs are just naturally long, dense games with a lot of content and like a lot of world building and character interactions. So I feel like this genre is really, really good for an RPG, and it's a nice change of pace from just being like another arena fighter or something else. So I'm actually really happy that they went with this RPG route, and I really do hope to see more of these kind of games, because I think it lends itself well for anime, especially like these shonen style anime that have been going for a long time. So I understand there are some people that are definitely disappointed that this is a turn-based game, when they're like, yo, if this was a fighting game or a Muso game or whatever, I would eat this right up. And you know, but in the same breath, there's also people who are not interested in playing like the fighting game variants or the Muso variants of anime games. So, you know, not everybody's going to be satisfied with any one decision, but I think that this is actually very welcome to see an anime-based game that's something else besides what we're very familiar with already. So I think in that regard, it's actually really cool. So, you know, if you're not a turn-based RPG fan, unfortunately, I don't think this game's going to like change your mind in that regard, but definitely for us anime fans or turn-based RPG fans that have been looking for a kind of combination like this, I think this is a super cool setup, and I want to see more of it. Anyways, that's it for this mini review. If you have any questions, just leave a comment. I'll definitely be uploading a lot of stuff. I'll be streaming and whatnot, but I just wanted to get this video out real quick because I know the game's about to come out tomorrow, and a lot of people are still like sitting on the fence, like, should I actually buy this game? So yes, I highly recommend it, and the only reason I think you might not be a fan of it is if you're not a fan of turn-based RPGs. Anyways, leave a comment if you have any questions I didn't go over here, and thank you all for watching. Peace.